Okay, good day and welcome to today's video. In this one, we're going to be talking about setting up GitHub and how to link it to your command line or your terminal. And that's basically all we're going to be doing in this particular video. And then after this, we should get into HTML. So this should be the final video in our setup, in the setup part of it. So the first thing you're going to do, what we need is and I'll tell you why. Open up Visual Studio Code, especially if you're on Mac. That's the easiest way to do it now. There are multiple ways of actually doing this thing, but this is the easiest way we're going to, because we're not really going to be looking that deep into GitHub. I just need to show you how to make commits. So as we're progressing, you could start making commits, and then later you could learn that in depth and all that good thing. Okay. So you want to go to github.com, just search GitHub or go to their website, and it should bring you to the homepage, which is this. And I'll attach the link to my GitHub profile so you can follow me if you want to. And it shows you this. So don't really, this right here is your profile, or you go to /profile. But what we're interested in is this new repository. So what is a repository? Or a repo, as you most likely hear people say. So a repo is basically, think of it as a bucket where all your code is being stored. So now, when we make files in plain HTML, right? So we have a folder. Let's call this one, for instance. Now, in one we could have a I'm just going to navigate, or let me do it the usual way. So remember, we've done command line. So ls, we are in the root directory. Let's cd to the desktop. Remember, we've done this. And let's do ls. We see all the folders we have. We are going to cd to course. That's the folder I want to use. If we do ls, we see this one folder here. So let's change directly to one. We've done this already, so this is another practice. So let me create a new file. This is how you do it on Mac. Remember I told you, or let me use the type. This is how you do it on Windows. And let's call this index.html, for instance. Now, okay, so this also works on, this is the Windows command though, but I'm just using it on Mac because it also works. But on Mac it's just tu touch. We've done this, I don't need to talk about it anymore. I used the wrong extension. Forget about it. So anyways, so now a repo, for instance, could be, just think about it as this folder, right? And then you know how here, let me just create some more. Okay, so now this, let's say this one, let's call it the repository. Think of it as a bucket that holds all your code. That's basically what a repo is, for instance. Right, so you create a repo and then you're pushing these files, and not necessarily, yes, you're pushing these files into the folder online for GitHub to hold it for you. That's basically what we're going to be doing. That's basically, in a nutshell, what GitHub base is version control. I don't want to get too deep into it because it's not really important for now. We're just beginning. We're going to focus on web development, and then you could learn this in the future. But just think of it like that. So for instance, now in this index.html, so in index.html we have this. We have this, for instance, now, right? And let me spin up a boilerplate, right? If I see, and we're going to look at this, if I make some changes and I save it, I will then push this code to GitHub, and then GitHub will now replace the old file. Let's say, okay, this is the first commit I made, and we're going to talk about that. This is the first commit I made. All that is here is all of these files, right? And then I make some more progress. I add this, for instance, and then I make a second commit, and then I send this up to GitHub. This new line is going to be added to this file up in GitHub. That's basically what it does. Right, and then all our changes are going to be there. So if, for instance, now let's say we are working on our home computer, and then we leave our home computer, we go to work, we can just clone the repo or download the files and continue from there. You can download it on someone else's computer, just that you need access if it's private, to be able to push new update from a different computer that isn't linked. So now, whatever repository we create on our profile, we need access to be able to push code to that repo, right? And that's where linking of GitHub comes to play. So now we need to link our GitHub, because you could actually just drag and drop files into GitHub. So now we could go to GitHub and then drag this file, and we're going to, so let's create this repo. Let's just call it test repo, right? So I want to make it, now your repo can either be public or private, and we're going to make this one private just for the sake of for no reason. Anyway, so now when a repo is private, only us can see it. No one has access to it. When it's public, anyone that has the link or anyone that comes to your GitHub profile can see it. So now we're creating this repo, right? And then I'm going to show you how to link. Now we need to link our GitHub account to our terminal or our command line, right? This way we can now say something like, if you look here, it says, look, you initialize a new GitHub repository. We'll talk about this. You don't really need to do this. You make a commit, you move to the branch. Forget about that. We link this branch to what? Our origin. And you see, this is my profile name. This is the name of the repo I created. You see? And then we push this code. And so after that, now this code will then come into, now this is the bucket. This whole thing, this is the bucket where this code, whatever file we link to GitHub is going to go. Obviously you need access to be able to push it, and if it's your account, then you should be able to do that. So now there are multiple ways of linking GitHub, and the easiest way, and I feel like it's much easier on Windows, because when I moved to Mac I was having problems doing that, right? Because it kept failing. But on Windows it's pretty straightforward. Once you try to make your first commit, it kind of automatically just links up. But if that doesn't work, there's an even easier way to do that. Let me put my phone aside. There's an even easier way to link it, and that's what we're going to be doing. So now I told you it's much easier to just link it by making your first commit. So that's what we're going to do now. So now in your terminal, remember, let me clear this. So now we are in this file 1, right? So we need to first initialize the GitHub repository, right? So now we do this git init, right? See what it tells you. Initialized a new GitHub repository. I think, how do we? Yes. So now GitHub automatically creates this folder. If you have show hidden folder on your Windows machine, you will see this. So this kind of tracks all the changes you are making, right? And that's how GitHub can tell that this is what has changed, because on GitHub they see where you could go to see the difference, the lines of code that were deleted, what was changed, and all of that, right? You don't need to worry about that for now. We just need it to store our code. We want to get into that practice of pushing code to GitHub. So we initialize a new GitHub repository, right? And it basically shows you the step. You're going to memorize this the more you continue or the more you use GitHub. If you copy this and paste it, you should do everything at once, but that's not what I want to do. So now we're going to ignore this readme, right? You don't need to worry about that. Yeah, we are beginners here. Don't worry about that. And then we need to make our first, we need to add our files to a stack. So now the easiest way to just do this is to add everything. So we say git add dot. So this means add every single thing. And in like file path, remember, we're going to look at it also when we get to HTML, but like dot is like where you are, so dot slash and all of that. I remember how we were going back with CD, we did CD dot dot, right? So go back one step, kind of like that. So now we're saying git add every single thing. So now we're telling GitHub to add every single thing to a stack, right? Add it to the stack. So you could actually tell GitHub the exact thing you want to add to your stack. Say, okay, add only this file. Right now there's only one file in it, but just this is what we're going to be using for now. So say GitHub add every single thing to the stack. You hit enter, it has added it to the stack, right? And then we need to commit it. So now, how do you commit? You say git commit. I remember we are using GitHub. That's why all these things starts with what? A git, because we are telling git, kind of like we've not done npm, but kind of like npm. So but now we're using git. So we say git commit m, which is like message, and then first commit. So let's just copy and paste that, right? Or in fact, don't copy and paste it, just type it yourself. You type it yourself. You want to get into that, type it. So we say git commit -m, which is the message, and want to just say, so like let's say now you made a change to the navigation bar. For instance, you can say something like made changes to nav bar, something like that, right? So now I just want to say, let's just call it link commit, right? We do this, we hit enter, right? It tells you one change intersection, and it tells you everything that has changed in this file, right? So everything is there, and then we now say we'll move to the main branch. So the branch is, so there's this thing in GitHub called branches. You could be in the main branch, master. You could create a branch, just let's say you could create a branch for where you work on the navigation alone, and then when you are done, you join them together. But we're not going to talk about that for now. Just ignore that. We just want to be in this place. So we want to move this one. You only need to do this once actually. So for now, so let's say git branch dash, that command isn't correct. You don't need to put this in quotation mark, right? Did I type it correctly? Yeah. So you hit this. So now we are in the main typo. So now we are moving to the main branch, and on Windows I think it actually tells you what branch you are in. Mac doesn't do that for some reason. So I think on Windows, before you put this command, you will see it saying something like master, right? I was using Git's own terminal, so yeah, I think it does that if I remember vividly, but Mac it doesn't do that though. So now we're in the main branch. On Windows it tells you what branch you are in. So now we have moved to the main branch. You don't need to worry too much about this, and then as we progress, we're going to be using GitHub, so it should make a lot more sense the more we continue to use it, right? So now we want to remote add this. Now this thing is like linking this GitHub, right? This one, just copy it. Now we want to link this folder, right? This file, this one, we want to link it to this bucket we have created on GitHub. This bucket called test repo. We're linking it. So now whenever we push code, it comes here. It's kind of like telling GitHub the direction where your code is going to go to. Think of it like that. So we're telling GitHub, okay, whenever we push our code, whenever we send our code to you to store it, this is where we want you to put this code, because you could have multiple repos, right? As many as unlimited. So now we hit enter. It has linked it together now. So now, so it's actually not linked because you need permissions, but just think it knows now that this is where we're going to be pushing. This is where I'm going to be sending all your code to. I'm going to be sending to GitHub.your profile does this repo, which is this file. And when we link it, you will see. I'll show you what it is. So now, like I said, so now once you push this code, if you've not linked it, I have done it, so the code is just going to go. But if you've not done it before, GitHub will ask you to sign up. Now on Windows, it should bounce you to the browser to sign into GitHub, and it should link. It should be pretty simple. On Mac, it did not do that when I started using Mac, so I had to like do it the manual way, but then I figured out there's another way we could do it. So now if it doesn't work for you on Windows, this second way is bound to work for every single person, and that's why I want this to be as easy as possible. So I'm not going to send this code to GitHub. I'm not going to send it now. So now, if this doesn't work for you, if you're on Windows, type this, paste this in, and try to push it, it should bounce you to your browser, allow you to open. That is the browser, and then sign into GitHub, and then it should bounce you back, and then your code should go. If that doesn't work, this should work for you. But this is the steps we're going to be going. Don't worry too much about it. We are going to be using this thing. That's why I want us to learn it now. We're going to use it a lot of the time. We're going to use it throughout. So you should see this as you are going to get tired of sin. No, don't get tired of sin. It's very important. Anyways, so now that doesn't work for you. Open what I call it, VS Code in that folder that you've done. So now GitHub is owned by Microsoft, and Visual Studio Code is also owned by Microsoft. And if you go down to Visual Studio Code here where it says account, you will see sign into GitHub. See what I mean? So now all you need to do is click sign in, or there's no need for me to sign up. Once you just sign in, what does it do? It bounces you to the browser and asks you to sign into your Git, and once you sign it bounces you back and you are here. All you now need to do is to open Visual Studio Code's integrated terminal, which is how I actually linked my GitHub when I moved to Mac. That's how I actually linked mine. So for some reason it did not work for me when I did it outside here. This is the easy way. I had to do it the manual, which is kind of a process. Not like it's difficult, but if there's an easier way to do, why not just do it the easy way, right? And then just do what we just did outside, do it here, especially if you're on Mac, and once you push it, it should then bounce you to GitHub, and then you should sign in, and then your code should go. And then by that point, and if you did not know, you see this terminal right here, right? It's the same thing with what is this, is what is here. If you have multiple terminals on Windows, you can bring them down. Like, see, I have Bash and I have this. These are the two terminals I have here. So it's the same thing. It's kind of like just that this one, when you open it in VS Code, it really points to the folder that you're in, whereas here you have to navigate. So you can use whichever one you want in as a course. It doesn't really matter, but I think I'm going to be using this outside one. I don't even know. I'll use the both of them. So now once we just push this code, see what happens. You see, and now you see it has, because we set the branch to main, right? On Windows you should have been seeing it as the master branch until we run that code. This code here, where is it? This code, I can't find it, until we run the code that this one that moved us to the main branch, and that's where we're going to be sending our code to the main branch. So now look what happens. No changes, right? But now look what happens when I refresh. Voila, our file is now in GitHub, and now we can click on it, and then we could see everything. You see? So now how do we use GitHub? So now let's say let me just do something. Let me say div, or let me just say p. This is a paragraph tag. We'll talk about it. Let me say 10. This, just don't worry about it. So now you see what I did. I saved it on Visual Studio. Another thing to put into mind, another thing you should know, let me increase the size of this, is that you need to save for your code to work, because when you push code that you haven't saved, Git is not going to see the difference. And a good way to know that you've not saved is this. Look here at the top here, you see this is a circle. Then once I save, it goes away, right? And I think on Windows it even shows you, once your GitHub is linked, it shows you a green line here that tells you, oh, all this part of this code you've not saved them, all the changes here you've not saved them. So that's kind of another benefit of using Windows. So let me do another p tag. Let me add some more text. And then I save, and then let's say I did all of this. You see, so all these things have not been saved, and if I save them, you see. So now I want to push this code. Let me use the outside this thing. So how do I push this code now? Remember I told you the first thing you need to do is what? Git add. We say add. Now we're saying git add everything. We're saying GitHub add all of this, add all the files here. Let's say there are multiple files here, but they're only one file. We say git add all of these files to the stack, right? Prep them to be pushed up to GitHub. So we say git add everything. That's what it means. We hit enter. Now GitHub has added everything. We now say git commit, right? Dash message, and in quotation marks we tell it let's say we added p tags. For instance, we said hit enter. You see, it tells you all the insertions, and it tells you what, let's say, lines of code you had deleted and all that, and only one file was changed. If we had two files, you say two files was changed, right? And then now that we've committed it, you can now say git push dash u origin, right? if I remember correctly. Origin, and we're saying the origin we want to move, that's where we want to push the code to, because we could have multiple branches. Like I said, is the main branch. So we hit enter, and look, it has pushed it to the main branch. And now look at what was here before, just this. Look what happens when I refresh. Look, every single thing I had done is now here, right? You see, every single thing is now, and it tells you the size of your file that was pushed, which is 414 bytes, and which is this. So that's the benefit of GitHub. So now, say for instance, I don't really, okay, let's not talk about cloning, because this actually now, this is just getting you started with GitHub. We will still continue to learn GitHub as we are moving forward. That is basic, the basics. So like cloning a repo, because I will put some files that you might want to clone and then work with them in the future. So we'll ignore that for now, and you could actually just download it. But don't worry about it. I don't want this video to be too long. This is just the bare bone pushing your code to GitHub so we can progress and we'll continue to use it. So far we've done command line. We've also done GitHub now, right? So everything we've learned in the previous part, we'll continue to learn more as we move forward. So it's not just something that you've learned it and then we'll forget about it. We are moving forward with it, and we'll continue to learn GitHub as we're going to move forward. So for that, this should be all we need to get started with HTML. So in the next video, we should be starting with HTML and some more command line and some more GitHub. I'll see you in that one. Peace out.